Dead Draw Gaming. Like no one ever was.
What's up, Dead Drawers, and welcome to episode number 100 of Dead Draw Gaming, a Pokemon TCG podcast like no one ever was. We have a crazy exciting episode for you guys today because it is a celebration.
This episode is going to be all about Dead Draw Gaming. So we're going to talk about the past, we're going to talk about the present, and we're going to talk about the future. And hopefully maybe drop some bombs as far as like big news that's coming out. Maybe, we'll see.
Like Danny said, we're going to go past, present, and future. Probably in that order, just to keep it consistent. Take a little travel through time. So, of course,
100 weeks.
We have to go way back to the very beginning. Who among you can take credit for the initial idea of, hey, let's start a podcast?
It was definitely Danny.
100%.
Okay.
But he didn't think of it like a podcast. It was a conference call.
So, okay, no. I'm going to take credit for this.
No. Okay, I can't wait for this. This will be good.
Okay. Interesting. The conference call, to be fair, was definitely Danny's idea. And he's all like, let's record it. And I'm all like, yeah. And then let's push it out to people.
Oh, is that your idea then? Because you said yes?
He did all the stuff except for me saying, let's push it out.
The thing about this was that it originally started as just a... Like, because Darren was still in North Dakota.
Yep.
Dan was in Madison at this point in time. And this was a way to build more efficiency and more result-producing activity. So you guys all know that I talk a lot about nonsense, about business-related stuff that probably bores people out of their mind.
It's true.
And that was something that I was talking about at the beginning of this podcast 100 weeks ago. And I said, let's just do a podcast. You know, there's a lot of people out there who want to build their own Pokemon business or trading card business. Let's record a conference call. Let's have a conference call every week. We can record it. We'll put it out there. We'll see if we get any listeners. And that's how it'll start. And it was a free conference call app that we downloaded. And there was an actual number that we called in. And it sent you the audio transcript after it was done, which I would then email to myself to get a Google Drive link, download it, throw it into Audacity, edit it, and post it up on just SoundCloud at the time. And then I went through, what did I do, like 50-ish weeks? 40
somewhere in there, yeah.
Yeah, between 40 and 50 weeks around, I edited it all, and then Darren took over because he was like, let's be honest, you're not very good at this part, so I'll fix it and make it better. And then he got us on, I think we were on SoundCloud and iTunes, and you took it to a bunch of other channels as well. Now it's, over the last, 10 to 15 weeks now, it's become a live thing every week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is been a struggle, honestly. Switching from recording on Discord, which was fantastic, high-quality stuff, to less high-quality other programs. I'm not trying to name names. We continue to improve every week. I mean, I make an active decision every week to try to make something better. I hope it's been coming across.
I think so. If we could get the buffering stuff down, like the connection issues down, and we could get audio a little bit better. I know that there's people who use the same thing that we use and have really, really good audio. We just have to... We'll keep improving. Things will keep improving over time.
What made you, and what makes you still, all of you, put out information when there are a lot of competitors within our community?
Danny said something in our very first episode that we've always kind of, and you guys aren't going to believe this, but we've kind of kept true to it. And Danny said there's no secrets in this world.
We've always been of the mind that there's no reason to hold back the people around you. Like, I think if everyone rises, the best rise to the top.
You can teach business, and you can teach this business, right? Like, if people are looking into it and just don't know how to start or what to do, like, I'm totally fine giving those secrets. Like, I'm fine sharing that information because it establishes a unity and it establishes a trust. The thing that I can't teach is work ethic and consistency. Like, those are things you have to do on your own. And to be completely blunt, like, I'm going to work hard. I'm going to outwork anybody that I come across. At least in my opinion, I am. And I'm going to put in the consistency there. And I think I don't know if a lot of other people are willing to do that because people have stuff that get in the way. Life will always get in the way, and if you're trying to do something on the side, it's super difficult to keep that consistency and that work ethic and continue to find new avenues. It's tough. Like, if people came up to me and told me right now that they wanted to start doing what we're doing, I would just say, cool, the information's out there, buckle in.
Yeah, good luck.
It's tough. I wouldn't say don't do it.
Right.
And I wouldn't say, I'm not saying that what we're doing is right by any means. Like, I'm sure that there's better ways to do it, but to be honest with you, it's difficult.
Why or when did you guys decide to pivot into a broader Pokemon podcast, leave a little bit of the business behind, and focus on stuff like Pokemon Go?
Gosh, I remember exactly when that happened.
I remember exactly when this happened also.
All right, take it away, boys.
For the longest time, we were on iTunes. It was weeks that we were on iTunes, but we, for the life of us, couldn't find out where our reviews were. Like, we just couldn't. And finally, one day, we stumbled across our reviews at, like, it was probably like 2:30 in the morning. Like, we finally found them. And there was a bunch of reviews that were like, hey, love the podcast, but would love to hear some actual Pokemon information and not just business stuff. And then we're like, oh, there's people that actually listen to us. And we saw, our SoundCloud plays grow and things like that. And while we want to keep stuff true to what we were saying we're going to do, and that's why we continue to put business stuff on the podcast and not just keep it competitive and TCG news and things like that, because there's other sources for that. We're not going to pretend that that's exactly what we want to be. We kind of keep it a big hodgepodge because that's basically what our clientele was looking for. And we saw that because of iTunes reviews and decided, hey, let's start adding a little bit of news. And that way there's sections for everybody. And if people don't like, they can fast forward through stuff, but at least there's still information out there that could, relate to everybody, that they're still interested in.
We've gotten lots of positive feedback, and we've also gotten lots of negative feedback, and we've really tried our best to take all of it in and be what we can be for you. That's honestly our main driver of change, is to provide the very best product we can that you will enjoy, and I can't imagine doing anything differently until you tell us to do it differently, basically.
Now let's transition into an Ask DDG question.
Ooh.
Those of you watching live, just hop over to Twitter, #DDG, and ask us a question. The first one comes in from our great moderator, Papa Blastoise.
Naturally. Is it about Rays?
No, it's not. Each and every one of you has had to make a sacrifice for DDG. Do you regret any of them, or would you have wished you have done something differently?
I definitely don't regret any of the sacrifices I gave up. Probably the biggest thing that I quote-unquote gave up was the job I had back in North Dakota. I had a really good job there. I was making a literal boatload of money. I think, looking back, I maybe would have liked to stay in North Dakota just a little bit longer for those paychecks. But, I mean, other than that, no, the ride's been insane.
I think my biggest regret for DDG is I didn't start taking it seriously as soon as I wish I did, or wish I could have. So it took me moving to Wisconsin and really starting to hammer down like what I wanted to accomplish with this business before I started really taking it seriously. And even just earlier this year, come February or March, is when things really started to kick in. I just can't imagine where we would be if I'd been going 100% from the start.
I regret stuff every day. Literally, like, every day I regret, I guess I shouldn't say every day, but I regret a lot of decisions all the time. I regret taking on articles so much at the beginning because a lot of that stuff didn't pan out.
Yep.
I regret adding additional work all the time until I've perfected something else.
Let's have a little bit of a fight. So, I don't know, because I wasn't here in the beginning. Who among you guys was the first personality praised? And if there was not one, who do you think that your audience has attached to more?
I mean, everyone loves Danny the most. I mean, it's obvious. Except for, obviously, the chat. loves Dan
Rorschach.
quite a lot. I'm the red-headed stepchild of this podcast.
I don't remember who was the first praised outside of like us looking at it. It very likely was Danny. Danny is, I think none of us would disagree, by far the smartest one of us. I don't think Danny's the funniest, but he tries more to be funny.
So as a transition from the past to the present, what was, and I think Dan probably mentioned it earlier, what was the first segment of the podcast that was cut? And what is a segment you would like to add right now to the podcast?
So the first segment that was cut was definitely the "What did we do this week?" portion. We used to, because it was our conference call, right? It was our one call a week. Like, hey, this is what I took care of. This is what we did. You know, like that's what we did, and it just. But yeah, you're right. I already did mention it. So
I honestly feel, to this day, I still feel like that is a decent segment for the type of podcast we thought we were going to be.
Right. Yeah, and prior to transition, it definitely was a good segment.
What would we add though?
Oh God.
Yeah, what would you add right now to the podcast if you could?
Dan slams for the meme.
For the meme.
For the meme.
Like every podcast or just every once in a while?
Every once in a while.
The beginning of literally every podcast is all of us slams.
I think it'd be really fun to have. So we're just entering football season. It is football eve. I think it'd be fun to have like a competition with like, I don't know, decks or players or something, and just have a season. I know we do very limited fantasy drafts for like Nats and Worlds. I just think it'd be really fun to have a short segment at the end of just like a couple minutes where we just do like some sort of competition. Gosh, we really got to work out the minutia. I just feel like we could do something short and fun right at the end of the podcast.
Well, I could give you the next transition to like the future of this.
Okay.
And maybe you want to start this one off, Dan. Is we see very successful competitive Pokemon podcasts, and we see very successful overall Pokemon World podcast. Right now, Dead Draw has a mix of the two. Mm-hmm. Would you ever change that to like focus the branding to go one way or the other, or would there be a second podcast, or how do you envision the future going?
So we've said this before, and it's no surprise to anybody that the competitive scene, while there is a big market for it, it is a very small percentage of what Pokemon actually is.
Yeah. To be honest, like the brand is everything to me, and I talk about branding all the time. And to me, your big time channels, your big time YouTubers, your big time podcasts are people who have a wider range of stuff. Keep it more casual because that's what your audience is. And when we started DDG a long time ago, and I know this is going back to the past, and I guess it wasn't a super long time ago, but we wanted to cater more to the competitive world, and that's why we kept our margins so small at the beginning. But the competitive world is only so big. Like you just had Worlds, you had 700 some qualifiers for Worlds. That's your competitive market. We can't really grow a brand off of 700 people. You want to reach out to the hundreds of thousands to millions of people who are out there that appreciate a little bit of competitive news, a little bit of competitive take on things, but mostly just a general podcast of people who love the game.
Now, I think we're kind of at the point where we can kind of wrap our discussion up with DDG as a whole, where we're going, what you would like to see. And I think from then on, we could turn it over to a few more Ask DDG, so make sure to get them in on Twitter. So let's go to the future. Episode 100 to 200. What is going to happen in the world of DDG?
So I think at the rate we keep changing, I assume by then we will all be running for office.
Okay.
Oh, I thought you were going to say My Little Pony or something.
Oh, that's not a bad. Somewhere between My Little Pony and Congressman. While we're really diving deep into streaming, I think we can make that a big deal. Live events, streaming nearly every weekend. We're going even more towards content creation.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the big thing. And I think you should answer this question as well, because now this affects you as well with the future type thing. So I'm going to leave that part to you. But going forward with more content, the team is going to change and evolve. And I'll let Dan kind of give a little bit more input, but not too much input on that. I would assume within 100 episodes we'll be on a different platform. But like Darren was talking about, it's not going to be just streaming Pokemon anymore. It's going to be, we want to get into gaming in general, with a lot of focus still being on Pokemon. It's just going to be, we're going to take on more, and we're really going to start this drive into turning Pokemon into more of an esports area.
So there's going to be videos, like, I mean,
No! I'm just kidding.
What did you do? Oh!
So, I'm just going to talk through
So,
you guys.
you guys.
There is, if you guys watched the vlog that came out today, like, what, a few hours ago, you've noticed that DDG Gaming, the YouTube channel, is turning into a daily channel. Thanks to Aaron over here. There's going to be a competitive version of that coming from DDG Gaming.
What's going to happen is, right now the YouTube channel has a mix of competitive and just overall Pokemon. Like Dan was saying, the competitive is moving to a new channel. So what you're going to see is a dip in views at the very beginning on our YouTube channel. We realize that, and that's okay, and that's why we're asking you guys to come along on the journey so that we can form it into something you guys would like to see and what you guys would like to watch. We all believe that vlogs are the format we want to go with, but the contents inside of those vlogs, we can decide as a community.
To use rotate base direction of arrows.
Oh.
That wasn't loud at all.
Did you take the plastic off first?
What have you guys
100.
done?
100.
Episodes. But seriously, thanks a lot, guys. We hope we can continue to grow and provide you with great stuff. But I think, Dan, you can take us home, Mr. Face.
All right. So, you guys, if you enjoyed the celebration of episode number 100, make sure to hit that like button down below. Or if you are live with us on Twitch right now and you have not done so already, hit that follow button up above so you can get those sweet, sweet notifications every single time we go live on Wednesday, 10 p.m. Central Standard Time on twitch.tv/DDG Gaming. That's all we have for you this week. So for Danny, for Darren, for Aaron, I am Dan, and we will see you next time.